Cuomo says the only way forward for UAP disclosure is through leaks. We've got that and a lot more to talk about today, so get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Hope you guys are having a great morning. Okay, let's just get right into it. Let's see what Chris has to say.
Respect Ross, like having him on the podcast, like having him as a partner at News Nation. He knows a lot more about this than I do, has much better sourcing than I do. And I understand that the momentum of having the actual head of the Democrats in the Senate pushing legislation, working with a Republican out of South Dakota or North Dakota or whatever it was to get a bill going is momentum. The hearings is momentum. The, what do they call them? Whistleblowers are momentum. It sounds like we're going to get more. And that takes us to the prediction, which is no, it's not going to happen. And I'll tell you why. There is no advantage in the UAP issue for one party over the other. It's good that there's bipartisanship. There should always be. Cooperation should be the way. But it isn't, because there's no advantage in it. And nothing's going to happen on UAPs unless it leaks to someone like Ross Coulthart, because they're not going to do it. The reason you don't see the big names in politics latching onto this, even though it's one of the few things that unites left and right with the reasonable about what we expect from our government, which is transparency, if they don't see advantage in bringing the other side down, they're not going to mess with it. And I don't think we're going to get the satisfaction we want.
Well, that's not encouraging, Chris. I'm not sure if I agree with all that. He's saying the way forward is to make the UFO issue political. No, that would kill the UFO issue if you turned it political, Chris. But he does have a good point in that if it's not politically advantageous, then why would politicians do it? If it's actually going to harm them politically, why would they do it? Well, that has always historically been the case. Politicians wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole because it would actually damage their careers. But now you have, a good number of politicians now, from Tim Burchett to AOC to Kirsten Gillibrand and Mark Rubio, Chuck Schumer, some pretty big names on the political scene coming forward, openly talking about UFOs and their reality. So I wouldn't say that politicians aren't motivated. They have motivations of their own that don't have anything to do with politics, that have to do with truth and getting the truth out there. Now, it's true that if you did make it political, you could get one side to push it more, but then you would turn it political. And then you get the other side saying it's all disinformation. So no, don't turn it political. That is not going to help. That's only going to increase the cries of PSYOP and disinformation. But he does have a really good point that leaks could be the way forward. I mean, that's kind of really what has gotten us this far. When Lou Elizondo came out in 2017 with those 3 videos, the Tic Tac, etc., that, that really started the conversation, and we've kind of been propelled by leaks ever since. Jeremy Corbell has had a good number of really amazing videos that were leaked to him, and and so on. And then we, started this age of UFO whistleblowers that we're now in, that we wouldn't have had if not for those leaks. Will more leaks get us more whistleblowers? I think that's likely. So we'll see where things go from here. Oh, and just to clarify, a leak is an illegal act technically. So what those 3 videos that Lou brought out in 2017, that was not technically a leak. He found a very sneaky way to get those listed as declassified or unclassified. So not technically a leak, but very sneaky. So anyway, but Chris has some good points, and let me know what you think about them in the comments below. Meanwhile, check this out from Osiris. As many of you know, UAPX, UAPexpedition.org, conducted a briefing to Arrow last year. I coordinated the meeting prior to leaving UAPX, so I wasn't personally involved in that meeting. There has been a tremendous amount of angst regarding the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and whether he took possession or his position of Arrow director seriously or was participating in a potential cover-up of the UFO information. After listening to the community's concerns regarding Dr. Kirkpatrick and after discussing those concerns with a member of UAPX who expressed doubt that Kirkpatrick took the briefing seriously, and hearing the statements of Gary Voorhees on a podcast or Spaces, I can't remember, regarding the briefing and his disillusionment, I decided to file a FOIA on the UAPX briefing to AARO. The goal of this FOIA is to obtain, as you can see in the yellow highlighted text of the first image, internal communications, notes, files, reports, etc. that were generated leading up to and after the UAPX briefing to AARO. Hopefully, if the FOIA is granted, this will shed some light on how AARO viewed UAPX and their capabilities and potentially provide some clarity on how AARO looks at outside organizations. Error occurred loading this image. Oh, but there you go. That is the FOIA, and they are FOIAing AARO about a particular briefing, which I think is a clever way to do it. Not just FOIAing them for anything related to UAP or UFOs, but specifically this briefing. So that'd be interesting to see what they come up with, if it sheds any light on the lovely Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick and his shenanigans. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Meanwhile, check this out. This is a story that's been around for a while, but it's really amazing. Alien DNA, or at least DNA from a being of some type that was from an anomalous encounter. Let's just go to it. Peter Corey woke up to two non-human ladies in bed with him. One left a hair that he had tested. Yeah, and the hair was in an interesting place. But yeah, these ladies, one of them left a hair. Results came back as a rare Asian lineage and also Gaelic. I believe everyone is capable of experiences regardless of DNA, and to me it's quite obvious given cultures worldwide throughout history all have traditions of interactions with non-humans. Absolutely 100%. Iculus goes on to say, but this is also odd if true, and I wonder what the implications could be. But yeah, very interesting. And here we go. This is really interesting. Continuing with the Corey analysis or story. Phase 3 allowed a focus on the genetic connections at a very specific and detailed level because of the unusual nature of the rare Asian Mongoloid sequence, and they're using that word in its proper context, as in from Mongolia or that region, revealed in the Corey sample. We found they occurred in the DNA signatures of an isolated group of people. The Lahu, who are limited to the region of southern Chinese province of Yunnan and the immediate regions bordering that locality, northern Thailand, Myanmar, Burma, and Laos. The areas of Yunnan and northern Thailand yielded considerable data and research, particularly with fascinating UFO and unusual light phenomena connections in both regions. That's wild. So the areas where this DNA came from has a high UFO activity level. That's wild, and I guess it shouldn't be surprising. Strange light phenomena and possible UFO connections are found in the shamanic-type elements of Lahu society. Dr. Anthony Walker's 907-page Lahu study, Merit in the Millennium, Routine and Crisis in the Ritual Lives of Lahu People, reveals one of the more fascinating Lahu shaman-like contact experiences involving a leading Lahu figure, Kanu, who claimed these sky beings or spirits visited him and gave him a mysterious glowing stone with inscriptions. He also reported seeing strange hole shapes crossing the sun along with anomalous stars. Kanu connects his experiences with spiritual prophecy, a dynamic revealed on numerous occasions in not only shaman lore. That's wild. I love it. I've talked many times about the connections between shamans and what I call the greater phenomenon, because I have some personal, experience with that going to ayahuasca ceremonies, and there is a connection, and I don't know what that is, but it is fascinating and probably important if we could only understand it. And the greater phenomenon is, of course, the umbrella term I use for everything, from UFOs to near-death experiences to cryptids, ghosts, you name it, psi abilities, out-of-body experiences. It all gets lumped together in the greater phenomenon, this huge mystery that we have to unravel. And the UFO phenomenon is one subset of that fascinating mystery. But it's not a distinct subset because it is baked in with all the other stuff. And that's why it would be really helpful if we understood all of that other stuff so we could learn the secret to UFOs. And part of one of those threads is the shamanic thread. And, I love it. I love it. I don't know what it means, but I love it. Phase 2, Hair of the Alien, was focused on replication of the shaft result and on the root of the Corey hair sample. This work revealed the breakthrough complexity that supported the apparent hybrid nature of the DNA profile of the alien donor, the blonde Nordic female, namely that we had a donor with very unusual hybrid DNA profiles, the rare Asian Mongoloid Chinese DNA and the hair shaft in the rare Basque Gaelic type DNA and the hair root, along with the indications of the provocative CCR5 gene deletion factor, which would allow such beings to carry out intrusive activities among humans without concern for diseases such as HIV and smallpox. This phase gave us real insights into the possible nature of these beings and their activities. These aspects, along with Phase 1 work, were reported in detail in my 2005 book, Hair of the Alien, published in New York by Peer Review Pocket Books, a division of Simon & Schuster. Go buy that book. Yeah, I've seen that video. It's great. And I'll link to this Twitter thread, and you can watch that video at your leisure. It's got some music playing, so I can't show you the video. But it's a really fascinating account of a man that had this encounter with these two beings, these two ladies, who may have been hybrids of some sort. We don't know what they were. But they actually left, or one of them left, a hair behind, and they had that DNA analyzed, and it turned out to be human DNA from two different places. Interestingly, the hair of the Nordic woman was basically translucent, a very unusual hair, according to those who studied it. Meanwhile, not related to UFOs, but pretty cool. Check this out. This is St. Elmo's Fire, if you've ever heard of that phenomenon. It's not paranormal, it's not UFO related, but it is really cool. Check it out. St. Elmo's Fire. That is amazing. Got fire or something shooting out of your fingertips. And that is awesome. That is awesome. Nature is wild. Nature is so cool. Check that out. Last but not least, remember that time George Bush Sr. got drunk and started talking about aliens? Well, me either, but apparently he did. Let's give a listen.
Professional. I'm in my early 30s. I'm doing political films. It's part of my job. And one of the films I'm doing is interviewing George Bush when he is running for vice president with Ronald Reagan on an airplane. I'm not the interviewer, I'm the director. I set up the scene, they're on the airplane.
Oh, and keep in mind that George Bush Sr. was the former director of the CIA.
George Bush is drinking like crazy, and the sound man is in the back with me, and there's a wireless mic on George Bush. And George Bush is talking to the interviewer, and the cameraman is getting ready. He hasn't started shooting yet. And all of a sudden, my sound man sitting next to me in the seat goes, "Whoa!" And he turns off the sound, stops recording, stops listening. David, what I just heard freaked me out. What'd you hear? His name was Nigel. What'd you hear, Nigel? Nigel said, I heard George Bush say, hey, you know those little green people? They're real. I saw one dead. Could George Bush have seen a dead alien? I think so. That's what he said to the sound man. Not on tape, unfortunately. Sound man is just listening.
Oh, man, I would have loved to have gotten that on tape. But isn't that an awesome story? George Bush Sr. talking about having seen an alien body. And of course he did. He was the former director of the CIA. God knows what they know and what they are a part of. As we now know, there is a CIA program that performs UFOs and crash retrievals. and that also seems to be engaged in intimidation of witnesses. So, although that may be a side program, and they seem to they hire outside help for that kind of thing. But either way, fascinating stuff. The CIA is in this up to their eyeballs. That program, the Office of Global Access, the OGA, has only been in existence since the 2000s. So, there is a possibility, however faint, that he didn't know back in the day. But surely that is only the current iteration of other programs that came before it. Maybe even more robust programs. They've probably been doing this forever. That seems to be what the evidence indicates. But now at least we have a name for one of these programs. Anyway, a fun story about a drunk future president at that time talking about seeing an alien body. I love it. Let me know what you think in the comments below about this and everything else covered today. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I sure appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. Join me on social media. Facebook, Twitter, and Discord links are below. If you wanted to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please consider visiting the merch store to grab a t-shirt or becoming a channel member. Channel members are rock stars, and I really appreciate you guys' support. Also, channel members frequently get to see videos hours ahead of everybody else. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos on the channel, and I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.